Hello, guys and ladies. We're on to our next chapter in the BFG, The Great Plan. We'll get right to it. We've absolutely got to stop them, Sophie cried. Put me back in your pocket quick, and we'll chase after them. And warn everyone in England. They're coming. Redunculous and impossible, the BFG said. They is going 2 times as fast as me, and they is finishing their guzzle before we is halfway. But we can't just sit here doing nothing, Sophie cried. How many girls and boys are they going to eat tonight? Many, the BFG said. The flesh lump-eating giant alone has a most squawkling, wopsy appetite. Will he snatch them out of their beds while they're sleeping? Like peas out of a pottle, the BFG said. I can't bear to think of it, Sophie cried. Then don't, the BFG said. For years and years I is sitting here on this very rock every night after night, when they is galloping away and I is feeling so sad for all of the human beings they is going to gobble up. But I has had to get used to it. There is nothing I can do. If I wasn't a twitchy little runty giant, only 24 feet high, then I would be stopping them. But that is absolutely out of the window. Do you always know where they're going? Sophie asked. Always, the BFG said. Every night they is yelling at me as they go bootling past. The other day they was yelling, we is off to Mississippi and Missouri to guzzle them both. Disgusting, Sophie said. I hate them. She and the big friendly giant sat quietly side by side on the blue rock in the gathering dusk. Sophie had never felt so helpless in her life. After a while she stood up and cried out, I can't stand it. Just think. Sorry about that. I had an interruption. I'm going to start it. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Just think of those poor boys and girls and boys who are going to be eaten alive in a few hours' time. We can't just sit here and do nothing. We've got to go after those brutes. No, the BFG said. We must, Sophie cried. Why won't you go? The BFG sighed and shook his head firmly. I has told you 5 or 6 times, he said, and the third will be the last. I is never showing myself to human beings. Why ever not? If I do, they will be putting me in the zoo with all the giraffes and the caterpillars. Nonsense, Sophie said. And they will be sending you straight back to an orphanage, the BFG went on. Grown-up human beings is not famous for their kindnesses. They is all squiffle rotters and grink sludgers. That simply isn't true, Sophie cried angrily. Some of them are very kind indeed. Who? The BFG said. Name one. The Queen of England, Sophie said. You can't call her a squiffle rotter or a grink sludger. Well, the BFG said, you can't call her a squeak pip or a not mucher either. Sophie said, getting angrier and angrier. The flesh lump eater is longing dearly to guzzle her up, the BFG said, smiling a little now. Who, the Queen? Sophie cried, aghast. So she probably said, who, the Queen? That'd been better. Yes, the BFG answered. Flesh lump eater says he is never eating Queen, and he thinks perhaps she has an especially scrumptious flavor. How dare he? Sophie cried. But Flesh lump eater says there are too many soldiers around her palace, and he dursn't try it. He'd better not, Sophie said. He is also saying he would like very much to guzzle one of the soldiers in his pretty red suit, but he is worried about those big black furry hats they is wearing. He thinks they might be sticking in his throat. I hope he chokes, Sophie said. Flesh Lump Eater is a very careful giant, the BFG said. Sophie was silent for a few moments. Then suddenly, in a voice filled with excitement, she cried out, "I've got it! By golly, I think I've got it!" "Got what?" asked the BFG. "The answer!" cried Sophie. "We'll go to the Queen." And that's where we're going to leave off today, guys and ladies. Stay tuned for the next installment on Thursday. Have a good evening. Go get some fresh air. Bye-bye.